Hello everybody, it's Tsukasa, and welcome back to the Alpha of Cube World, the awesome new indie sandbox RPG. Today, continuing along with my tutorial for the Alpha of Cube World, we are going to talk about camps, campsites. We're also going to talk about inns and food. I've briefly mentioned some of these before. Today I'm going to go into a little bit more depth about them. First up, oh my god. What is that? Fucking A, random ass shit. Jesus. Happens all the time. Die, you die! No! Doggy died. I'm almost dead too. Oh my god. Okay. Phew. Alright, well, poor doggy died. I think I actually killed the dog on accident. Oh well. Alright, so that's some random ass crap that can happen in the game, which happens all the time. Alright, so anyway, what we were going to talk about today is campsites, inns, and food. We're going to go a little bit more in depth about them. So one thing you definitely want to be on the lookout for as you're out and about adventuring in the world of Cube World is campsites, because there's a lot of cool things you can do at campsites, and it's very useful to know where the nearest campsite to you is, because as you see, you can get severely damaged in combat, as we have during the few battles we've done, and I'm almost dead at 29 hit points left, and well, my hit points are not regenning. As I think I've mentioned before, there's only a few ways to get your hit points back. You could drink a health potion, you could eat the food, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, or the third option, which I haven't mentioned yet, is sleeping in a bed. Now, there are beds in many different places. Most houses have beds, an inn will have a bed, but some campsites also have beds. So, I found a campsite here, and this one happens to be one that has a bedroll in it. Now, not all camps will have beds in them. Sometimes it will just be a one of these campfires. Sometimes it will be a stool in a campfire. This is one of the lucky ones that has all of the campfire objects. It should be noted too, sometimes there is a bedroll, but it's got a little pup tent over it, and you cannot use the bed if there's a pup tent over it. Rather annoying. Maybe that'll change at some point. But anyway, so sleeping will give you your hit points back, and all you have to do is walk up to it and hit R. And my hit points start regenning. Time is ticking by faster. It's about 1 second per minute while sleeping, rather than the normal 6 seconds per minute. Something I thought I'd mention. And it just takes a little bit to get your hit points back. And there we go. So it is very, very useful to know where the nearest campsite to you is, so that way you can conserve your food, conserve your hit points, and or rather conserve your hit point potions to get your hit points back for free, basically. So that's pretty cool. Now, the other neat thing, I'm just picking up these things while I'm thinking about them. The other neat thing you can do at the campsites is by using this campfire. The campfire is, in essence, a crafting station. Food that I've mentioned that also regens your hit points, you have to be at a campfire to craft it. So, like the ginseng soup, we're going to do that now. You just walk up to the campfire, push R to examine, and the crafting window pops up with the food tab by default already pulled up. So, pineapple slices do not need a campfire for them. It's one of the few foods I know of that does not need a campfire. That should be noted. But the ginseng soup does need a campfire, so I'm just going to click the little sword button down here and cook up my ginseng root that I've got. We found from those nodes earlier in a previous episode. Cooking them up. And now I have some usable food. Yay! You can find that in your inventory just by pushing B and click on the little pottery jar icon, and it's in here, along with your health potions. As you can see when you mouse over it, it says it gives me 200 hit points, which is awesome. It's a very, very good, high-quality food, this ginseng soup. So it's always good to have some food along with you to get your hit points back if you can't find a bedroll, and conserve your life potions at the same time. Alright, the next thing we're going to do here is I'm going to talk about, actually continue along with that same theme, I'm going to talk about these pineapple slices. It requires pineapples, and you might be thinking, so where the heck do you get pineapples from? I've not gotten any pineapple nodes while I was out and about, and I haven't been getting any dropping off of monsters that I kill. So where do they come from? Well, they actually come from farms. Not like in a Minecraft farm where you hoe the ground and provide some water and throw some seeds down, nothing like that. There are preset, randomly generated farms near towns, near cities, and generally they are also found near inns. You can distinguish them on your map actually by these brown squares. Each one of these is a plot of farm ground. Now, not all farms have pineapples, I should say. Just some of the time it will be pineapples. Some of the time it will be less useful things that you can't actually pick up, and kind of just for looks at this point, like sunflowers and wheat, stuff like that. So I'm going to come across here, and voila, here are the farms I was mentioning. And this one is actually corn. At least at this point in the game, you cannot pick the corn, but up here, in this part of it, we have pineapples. So I'm going to pick up a bunch of these pineapples. You want to do this definitely. Every time you run across a field of pineapples, pick up as many of them as you can. Either as many of them as there are pineapples in the field, or until you hit the stack limit of 50. All items in the game that I've run across at least have a stack limit, and that stack limit is 50, so you can only carry 50 life potions, 50 food, 50 pineapples, so on and so forth. And once you get to 50, it will give you a little message that says, just like that. And down at the bottom left in the information window, it says you cannot carry any more of these items. But there's a neat little trick to that, being that you can then just turn around and craft up all 50 of those, and once you have your 50 pineapple slices crafted, true, you cannot craft any more because the pineapple slice will be at its 50 limit, but you can continue to pick up the pineapples. So in essence, you can have 50 pineapple slice ready to eat and 50 pineapple ready to replenish those pineapple slices as you do eat them. So in effect, you can have 100. That's a neat little tidbit of info that I've figured out a way around the stack limit. So I'm going to go ahead and convert these up, and I'll be back in a minute. Alright, we are back, and I have converted all of my pineapples down into pineapple slices. I have my stack of 50, which is of course the maximum, as I've said, and I went ahead and finished picking up the rest of the pineapples in that field. So I've got 9 of them. There's another pineapple field over here, so in a bit I'm going to go fill up on those and pick up, you know, as many of them as I can to get to the stack limit of 50. But what I want to mention here is a pumpkin field. This is the other type of crop that can be grown at these, or that grows at these farms, that is actually usable, and you can pick them up. At level 1, you cannot use them at level 1. However, as soon as your character gets enough XP to hit level 2, a new cooking recipe will automatically show up in here, and it will be for pumpkin slices, kind of like a pumpkin pie slice. So you might as well, if you run across the pumpkin farm, go ahead and pick up as many of these as you can. If you can get a stack of 50, that would be great. And that way, as soon as you hit level 2, you can craft those up into the usable food. It should be mentioned, though, the pumpkin pie does, like the ginseng soup, require you to be at a campsite. So I'm going to pick all these up, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, we are back, and I've gone ahead and picked up the rest of the pineapples that I could fit, as well as a stack of 50 of these pumpkins. That way, when I hit level 2, I can craft the pumpkin food. One thing I forgot to mention, the pumpkin slices themselves, they give you 100 hit points back. As I said, the ginseng gives you 200. The pumpkin food is a little bit better than the pumpkin slice. I think it's 110, maybe 120, as I recall. But anyway, so that's how that works. Like I said, the ginseng is a really good food because it's better than either the pineapple or pumpkin. But it's a little bit rare because it only comes from those random nodes out in the world. The other thing that you can't use really early on, but you will need eventually, once you hit level 3, is these mushrooms. These purple mushrooms that are out and about. Like I said, there's no reason not to pick up stuff like that, because once you hit level 3, yet another food type will open up, and it is a mushroom skewer. I forget the exact name of it. Something like that. it requires these purple mushrooms, but it also requires onion slices. I haven't found a reliable way to get onion slices just yet. The only ones I've gotten were seemingly random drops from monsters. But anyway, the onion slice and the mushroom together crafts a even better food than the pumpkin. Alright, so now the final thing we're going to talk about here in this episode before we go are inns. As you can see, there's an inn right here, as this big sign on the door says. You can also see on the mini-map, it's got the inn icon over the house, and as well as the overland map. Now that I'm close enough to the city to see these buildings, I should point out that buildings are always these blue square cube things. So if you're looking for a building, or a city, the edge of the city at least, you know that each one of these blue things is a building. Now, the important thing about that, why I mention it, is because pretty much every single building has a bed in it that you can use without any consequence. So, if you're missing some hit points and you're right around the edge of the town, you can always run back to one of the blue squares, come into that house, and use their bed for free and no consequence. Oop, let me get my camera back here. There we go. Yeah, sometimes you gotta zoom in when you're in a house to see what the heck's going on. Alright, so, entering the inn here, whoops, there's the few things we want to mention about the inn. We have the guy that stands behind, well, looks kind of like shelves or benches, but I guess that's supposed to be like the bar counter in the inn. And there's the guy that stands behind it. You don't necessarily want to talk to him because he is the innkeeper, and he will allow you to stay the night. And I don't mean give you access to the beds, which are upstairs. You can just run upstairs and use these beds at any time. Actually, though, what he does is he advances the time from whatever time it is. It's 3:55 in the afternoon. But if I push R to talk to him, it will immediately go make a really loud sound and advance the time to 7 a.m. the next morning. This is very, very useful because, as I said, you've got a realistic day-night cycle, and once you get about to 20, which is about 8 p.m., it will begin to get dark, and by 21 or 22, which is like 9 or 10, it will be dark out, and come midnight, it is pitch black, and you cannot see 5 feet in front of you, even with your lamp out. So once it starts to get dark, you might want to head back to the nearest inn and sleep the night through just by pushing R and talking to the innkeeper in here. He does not charge you any money, it is free, you just push R, talk to him, and boom, it's 7 a.m. the next morning. So, I think that's all the topics we wanted to cover this episode. I showed you guys what campsites are, what they look like, why they're important to keep an eye out for, how to cook food at campsites, how to harvest food that you can find in the various different fields, and how the inns work. So, that's it for this episode. In the next episode, I think we're going to talk about the character specializations that you can spec into as you level up, how to spend your skill points, and how to respec if you want to change your specialization. So, I hope you did enjoy. Maybe you learned something. And if you did enjoy and learn something, don't forget to thumbs up, as much appreciated as always. And subscribe for more. Until next time, it's Sukasa signing out. Have a good one.